One of the problems we have as caravans is panel damage, and what we're going to do with this is simply just remove the old panel and replace it with a new one. Obviously it's got electric, so we're going to need a qualified electrician to remove the switch and make it safe so we can do the work. Right, so we've had the electrician in, he's made it safe, turned the power off, and we're ready to remove the board. One thing I will say about the boards is the different sizes. This one's only a little narrow one. The full boards are, generally an 8x4 sheet, and it's a 3.6mm thickness. So on this one we're going to have to do a little bit more cutting to get it to size, and also we've got to cut around the socket as well. So the first step will be to remove all the trim that's on the van. Then we've got staples that hold it all in. We're going to go along to cut the silicone. On this case it's got silicone down the corner, whereas on a bigger sheet, a full sheet, you'd repeat the process that you've already done on this side. So now we're just going to trim the silicone. And once we've done that, there's a few screws that hold it in on this side that holds it to the batten of the caravan. Remove your caps. Once you've removed all your screws, you have to be careful because on all the battens of the frame inside the caravan wall, it's glued to it, so you just have to be careful when you're removing it. On this case it's been battered quite a lot, so it's free. And then I'm going to show you how to use this as a template. I'm going to take it into the wood store, use it as a template, draw around it and then cut a new piece. As you can see, this one smashed through to the other side as well, but in this case it don't matter because it's at the back of the shower where the customer can't see. So if it was in a different area, obviously you repeat the process on the other side. In this case we can just cover this side. As you can see, I've cut the board, not forgetting the hole for the light switch. Another thing I'm going to say about this is you can get the boards with the wallpaper already attached to them. We will be giving details on the DVD which will tell you where you can get these from. You can get them all different colours and patterns and what have you. On this caravan it's a little bit older caravan, so we can't get a paper to match it. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using the paint like we used in the DVD earlier, the exterior paint, and we're going to be painting the whole wall with it so it matches in. Another thing is there's a trim that runs across the bottom and the top. It's very flexible, and this is important that you get it in here first before you start putting the rest of the board in. So get in at the bottom first. If you are finding it hard to fit it because it's an exact fit as the other one, it's the easiest thing to do is just to remove the old clip and then we'll fit that on and then put the cover back over it after. So remove all your staples out of your trim. And then we're going to fasten this back over like that with a few little screws, or if you've got a staple gun, obviously you staple it back on. Right, now I've attached the trim on that side, we're going to be fastening this side using just an 1/2 inch screw and a screw cap. Do that all the way down, and then I'm going to run a line of silicone down the corner here, and using this fugi tool just smooth it off, and then it's ready to be painted. Now I'll get the fugi tool, just make it a nice finish. And now it's ready to paint. Obviously with this being bare wood, we're going to have to put a base coat on it first, so we'll just paint over this, carry on. On this instance we'll start from here, from a flat surface, straight surface, and go right over the top of the wardrobe. So paint this first, then we'll carry on painting the rest of it, then come back to this and put its second coat on it, and that'll be it finished. As you can see, we've painted the wall. Had the electrician come, fitted the light switch, job done. Here we have another panel with damage. We've got an hole down here and an hole here. It's not appropriate to cover with a picture or a vent, so actually we're going to remove the board. But to make the job a bit more simpler, because we've got seating and a cupboard here that we've got to cut around, all we're doing is slicing across here to the door, remove the door trims, remove curtains and the window trim, and we're going to fit a new panel. So now what I'm going to do is remove the window pole, just undo the ends so the pole releases. Take off the bracket. Then we're going to remove the window trim. We've got to remove the brackets that hold the actual window in, because that's holding the panel as well. And also we've got to move the door trim on this caravan as well. Now I've removed everything that holds the panel in place, I'm just going to pull the panel out. Now I'll take this to the wood store or your workshop. We'll use this as a template, put it on as a piece of 3.6mm ply and then draw around it, cut it out with a jigsaw. Now we've got us bit of wood cut. With it being so big, it'll be a little bit easier to use two people for this one, so I'm using a work colleague to fit this in. Now we've got us board into place, we're going to fasten the fittings back to the door and follow the same process on the window as well. As you can see, we've fitted the board, put the screws down by the door and the window. We've fitted an extra trim here just to make it a nicer finish. Now we're going to get it painted. I'm going to paint from one corner of the room to the other, you know, just finish the whole thing by painting the whole wall. Then we're going to fit the trims, get the electrician in to fit the light back on, and jobs are good. As you can see, we've painted the wall, fitted all the fixtures and fittings, and now the wall's as good as new. Now I'm going to be showing you how to adjust a door frame, one of the aluminium doors. One of the common faults is that these doors can drop through time, and they show signs of wear at the bottom of the door frame. In this case it's sticking at the bottom, so what we're going to do is we're going to lift the door until it's not catching. As you can see at the bottom of the frame, it's got shows of wear through time. This is actually wear through the metal. So before it gets to that stage, we're going to lift the door accordingly. As you can see on these doors, the hinges are aluminium, and we've got room for adjustment here. So what I'm going to do is undo the two screws on 3 hinges, lift the door, and then tighten it back up, and then see where we are. You only have to just undo them slightly. You don't want your door dropping off. Lift your door. Just tighten one of them up. No need to tighten all 3, just tighten one of them up and then just see how your door works. Right, that's cleared the bottom trim now, so I'm just going to tighten the other hinges up. And that's the door adjusted. So now I'm going to show you how to replace one of these hinges. What we're going to need in is a drill, so we can drill the rivets, rivet gun and the appropriate rivets. The reason that I'm going to be removing this one is just for show purposes. Like obviously you're going to have to be wearing your safety glasses, but the doors, what they'll do is they'll swing open, you know, in high winds, buckle the actual hinge, so then you'll be needing to replace one. Right, so now I'm going to show you how to remove the rivets. Obviously all we need to do is actually take the top bit of the rivet away. So just get your drill bit. As you can see, I've took the heads off the rivets and now I'm just going to unscrew it. As you can see, I've removed the rivet heads, and what we're going to do now is prise the hinge out with a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver. Now all you've got to do is get a hammer, just knock these in, and then we can apply this new hinge and rivet it on. As you can see, we've knocked his rivets in. Make sure that you're using the right size rivet. In this case I'm using a 4mm one. Make sure it fits into the hole nice. And then on your rivet gun, obviously you've got different settings for different size of rivets. I've changed it to the appropriate size for the rivet I'm using. As you can see, this one is a right-handed hinge, so we're replacing it with another right-handed hinge, so just match him up with the hinges that you've got, and we're going to place that on now. Okay, so that's the first rivet I've put in. Now I'm going to put in the second one. Right, now I'm going to put in the screws that we removed. And then we're going to check the door, see if it shuts properly. If not, just make final adjustment to the door, and that's that fitted. Now we're looking at a double glazed door. On this one it's catching on the top, so, and you can see with the marks on the door. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to adjust the hinges on a double glazed door. On the hinge, on this particular hinge we've got 3 settings. There's a little Allen key at the side here that moves the door out and in. Under the cap here we've got another adjustment there that oscillates the door in and out, and then underneath there's a bigger Allen key which moves the door up and down. And in this case the top hinge needs to come in to free off the door. I've adjusted the door now, and as you can see it closes perfect. Now I'm going to be looking at how to change an hinge on a double glazed door, and for this reason is you get so many people come and adjust the doors and it shears off the Allen key thread inside there. This on top, it's only made of plastic, so it's very easy to shear the Allen key, and then same underneath, they shear it off. So if that happens, obviously you'll need to change either the Allen key stud itself, so you've got to take the whole thing off, or just the easy option is just to put a new hinge on. To gain access to a screw that we have on the other side of the door, we've got to bring the door out as far as we can, so I'm going to have to adjust this one out and the top and bottom out as well, so I can gain access to this screw. As you can see, this is a screw before we've adjusted the door, and this is after we've adjusted the door to gain access to the screw to remove the hinge. Now we've removed this screw from the back, the plate just is easy to access to the screws at the back there. Now what I've got to do is I've got to remove these 4 screws here that's actually screwed to the door, which will release this part of the hinge. An easier way to take the hinge off is to insert it into the Allen key and gently pull it away from the door. As you can see, there is 2 lugs that locate into the door. They're the first 2 holes in your door here. This piece just lifts off, pull the pin out, and then we can remove the 3 screws that holds the hinge to the door frame. Same again on this. There's a couple of lugs that locate into the door frame. As you can see, I've removed the hinge. We've got a little bit of mould residue and muck, so I'm just going to get a bit of blue roll and wipe it off. Here we've got our new hinge that we're going to replace the door with. I've removed the screw from the back, which removes the plate, and then we're going to fix that onto the door first. And just a tip is this removes and it goes on the other side, so if you want to use it as a left-hand door closer, it reverses, so there's no need to look for left and right-handed, it's universal. Right, so first stage is remove the pin, place the new hinge, make sure you get the lug holes right. Place your second part of the hinge on top, push it down as far as you can, and then we've got to adjust this so the lug holes go into the holes here on the door. Now the lugs are in position, we're going to put the screws back in the order that we took them out. Right, now we're going to fit the back plate and put the screw in from behind again. You might have to adjust the hinge again with the side motion, just so you can reveal this screw hole at the back of the door here. Once you've done that, put back in your screw. Screws in. Now all we need to do is make the final adjustments so the door shuts again properly. And as you can see, this door is catching, so we've got to adjust the door inwards. no more catches. Now all we've got to do to finish the job is fit in the bottom cap and the top cap. I'm going to be showing you how to pipe lag a caravan. The reason for this is it prevents the van from frosting up in the cold temperatures. As you can see, we've got a 22mm pipe here, and we've also got the 15mm pipe, so we're going to be using 22mm lagging on this pipe and 15 on the other pipe here. And it's got a little slit, you just run your thumb down it and it opens it up. Then we're just going to place it over the pipe like this, and it comes to the tap at the bottom. I'm going to wrap that around there just to give that a little bit of protection at the bottom. Put a bit of tape round, about, I don't know, 6-8 inches apart, and then the van's lagged, ready for winter. Right, so now I'm going to tape up the lagging. Just using simple gaffer tape. You could tie wrap it. And you've also got to make sure that all pipes are lagged, even the ones that go up into your caravan. So now you can see we've finished the lagging. The reason for this is obviously, you know, it can help prevent frost to your, and it causes damages to your showers, your taps, and it just helps. It's not going to stop it from happening, but it will help. These are the new Kintex steps that we're going to be using on park. We're going to be taking the steps off the iFleet and replacing them with Kintex steps, and the steps off iFleet will be going into the sails, and that will be on a rolling basis from now on. I'm just going to take you through what we need. We'll need a 13mm and a 10mm socket and ratchet, a 10mm spanner. Also we've got the feet, the brackets, and all the right nuts and bolts to fit the steps together. I'm going to show you how we're going to put it together now. In this case I'll be putting the steps to a left-handed door, so obviously I want to put the steps on the right-hand side. So all I do is you place your brackets on top and bottom. That, these little 10mm bolts. Another tip would be to use a pair of pliers, because the bracket is spread apart too far to get your thread on your bolt, so just give it a nip up. First one in, and your second one will follow quite easy. Right, now I've fitted the handrail, I'm going to show you how to put in the adjustable feet. Simply just thread them into the bottom. In this case, with the height of the caravan, I don't need any actual height of the thread, I've just got to put it right in. On some vans, you know, you might end up with a thread that high. I wouldn't recommend anything that high. What I'd do is measure the distance from the floor of the van to the floor, and probably get a set of 4 tread instead of 3 tread. So now I've put the feet on, it's time to connect the steps to the caravan. Before you start your steps to your caravan. Just make sure that you've got no gas pipes or electrics running at the back of the wood here. You know, you don't want to be puncturing your gas pipe or any electric cable. In this case, it's clear. But I just got to make sure that the handle's clear of the door frame, and also at the top of the step here, make sure that's not pushing up to your door frame, because then it'll restrict your door from opening and closing. So what I always do is get an hammer, just give it a little tap, just to start it off. Get your ratchet. Make sure not to over tighten, but you'll just pull the bolt through the wood. On the opposite side, you get a little white cap that fits behind your step. Same again, make sure your washer's on, give it a tap. Now we've got our steps secured to the caravan, we've got to make sure that the steps are nice and flat, you know, it's stable. If they're not, just adjust the legs turn, and then also you would have put a nut on there just to prevent the threads from breaking through the step. Also, it's got to be sat on a real hard surface. It's no good putting a piece of wood under it or a little piece of slab. It's got to be a full slab. You know, it's a perfect size for these steps, and that's what's got to be used. Now I'm going to be showing you how to repair a shower tray. What I'm going to be using is a skin, a repair skin. This is actually a skin that you sit in top of the shower, and it's on top of your existing shower tray. It's not an actual, you know, proper tray. It's a tray that you fit in top. So first step, I'm going to go underneath the caravan and disconnect the waste. I've now removed the shower trap and the waste. I've give it a quick wipe over to make sure there's no dirt and moisture on the surface that we're going to be sticking down with PU sealant. Make sure your PU sealant goes around the plug hole and especially around the cracked area to make sure that your new skin seats nice and tight. Right, so now ready to place the skin. The skins come in various shapes and sizes, which are all available from Ali. As you can see with this one, we've got a few little gaps here and there. We're just going to fill them in with the sealant and the fugi tool. As you can see, we've fitted a new waist and there's a trap underneath. Now I'm going to apply the sealant that's mold free. Right, so now I'm going to be using the fugi tool, using the 8mm. So we've fitted the new shower skin. Obviously it's a lot quicker to do this. Replacing the actual tray itself would take you 2-3 times as long. And you can get these available at Arley in various shapes, sizes and colours. In the shower cubicle, in the corners this one's showing cracks all the way down, and some of them even got splits in. Instead of buying an whole new shower skin, we're going to simply get a piece of inch by inch angled PVC and place it in the corner with some PU glue. Right, so I've put in the PU sealant, and we're going to place this angle right into the corner. When you've applied your corner trim, you might get a little gap, so we're just going to fill that in with a sealant and then go down it with a spoogie. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install a digital aerial. We'll be using an aerial mast, a digital aerial, coaxial cable and the cutters, snips and the appropriate connections. Right, so now I'm going to show you how to put the aerial together. It's simple, you've just got 3 pieces. Make sure the rounded bit of the element faces the front of the aerial and it just clips into place. Now I'm just going to fit the second element. Now I'm going to be showing you how to fit an F-type plug, which is one of the Sky type ones. We've got the coax, we put the cutter on about 3/4 of an inch down, give it a spin, that just pulls off to reveal the silver paper and the wire. We're just going to twist this around on the end. Then we're going to get a cutter on the other side which cuts smaller, and we're going to cut the inner coating off about 5-6 mil away from the cable. Then all we've got to do is apply his F-type, screw it on, and the reason we'll leave the white inner one is so it fits through the F-type plug. Now all I've got to do is just snip the excess off, leaving yourself a little bit exposed. Right, so now I've done the cable, we'll turn around the aerial, and on the underside there's a little connector. We're putting his F-type onto there, tighten it up, nip that up with a pair of pliers. Then we're going to take this outside. We'll still have it connected to the reel of cable. We'll stick this on the floor, put the aerial up where we want it, and then cut off the amount of cable that we need, so we've got the right length of cable to put into the caravan, put a connector on to put into the back of the telly. Right, now I'm going to show you how we're going to be fitting the mast for the aerial. We're going to make sure that where we're putting the aerial, it's got a secure position. So where you put your screws in, you've got to make sure that it's got something to hold on to. So the best place you can actually do it is on the corner of your van, at the roof. In this case, we'll be putting it on here because it's a solid surface. Before I go up the ladder and put the mast up, we also have to put the bracket on. So just place your bracket for your aerial, just give it a little tighten up. And then we're ready to go up the ladder. When you're on the ladder, make sure that you use Part Resources policy. Make sure someone's holding the foot of the ladder. Right, now I'm going to be going up the ladder. Just before I do, just want to mention at the top of the ladder there, we've just put a little bit of tape around there just to protect the caravan from the ladder so it don't get scratched. Then I'm going to go up the ladder and attach to the mast with someone holding the ladder. Make sure that you get the mast level and then continue putting in the rest of the screws. Now the mast's in place, I'm going to fit the aerial. Right, so what I'm going to do here is just fit the aerial through the two squares on the back. Tighten it up a little, and then what I'm going to do is we're going to look where the other aerials are pointing in this particular part of the park, which they're all facing in this direction. So I'm going to fasten it up there. Right, I'm going to be taping the coaxial cable to the mast, to make it look more neat. And you need a couple of these on your mast. Right, so now I'm going to be clipping the cable to the caravan using a 7mm cable clip. As you can see, I'm putting the cable clips and the corner of the caravan because it's got a nice wooden surface behind it for the actual clip to fit into. Making sure they're about a foot apart. Pull your cables tight. As you can see, the cable's clipped in all the way down, and we've got to do this on the underside of the caravan as well until we get to the aerial connection point, as this belongs to an owner and it's got to look really nice and tidy. On some caravans you might have to drill a hole through the floor to put your cable through. In that case you just put your cable through, put your connector on into the back of the telly, or in this case it's already got the cable underneath the caravan that's into the aerial socket, but just a point just to say that this one's a little bit tatty, so we're going to trim that off and make sure we've got a nice little bit of cable, and then we're going to fit two F-type connectors and an F-type barrel, and then we're going to seal it off with a bit of amalgamating tape. Right, so I'm just going to cut the excess, what we've got. Same again, making sure we've got a nice clean bit of cable that's coming out of the van. I'm going to strip these off. So we've got us two F-types fitted. Just going to connect that to the barrel. And now we're going to put on as amalgamating tape. Like I said, in this caravan, this aerial is connected to the socket in the corner there. On some units you'll have to drill through the floor and connect it into the back of the telly. Make sure you drill it through the floor and not through the side of the caravan. This is the meter that we're using. Obviously you can get them in all different shapes and sizes. Right, we've connected an RF lead to the socket, and I'm going to connect this into the signal tester, and the signal has got to reach no less than 46 decibels. On this one we've got 61 decibels, so that's fine for a signal. Here we've got a single paned unit. The handle's been snapped off, and on these windows the handles are actually riveted on. The only way to put these back on really is to glue them safely without breaking the window. Today we're going to be using Robex glue and activator, and you'll be able to get the information for this on the DVD. I've filed the rivets down a little bit just to make them a bit tidier so I can fit on the handle with the glue. Right, so this is an irritant, and the spray is an irritant as well, so I'm going to be wearing a pair of rubber gloves and eye protection. What I'm going to do is spraying the window surface first with the activator. Putting some glue onto his catch. I'm just going to get a clamp and also for extra bonding I'm going to put in the glue where the rivets used to be, so it'll actually hold it there as well on each side. Give it a bit of a spray with the activator. And that's it. It does bond instantly, but we have put a clamp on it, and we're going to leave that there for 60 seconds. Then we're going to remove that and then let the glue harden for an hour, and then the window's able to be used again. As you can see, we've come back in an hour. And it's glued really strong.